Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Hip Hop Babies. Not doing an album review today. We just having a general discussion, talking about 50 years of hip hop.
It was dope to see everyone acknowledging, 50 years of hip hop, all the hip hop stand accounts, hate them or love them, all the, people who just casually listen to everything. It's interesting to see how young of a genre hip hop is, right? 50 years is pretty short. A lot more years to come, a lot more growth, right?
We're still getting into it. We don't know really when it's going to end or what's the peak of it.
I think this is a perfect opportunity to kind of get in certain things about hip hop we love, certain things that we will see in the future. And of course, we would love for y'all to comment. This is all open to discussion. We love to have some combos with y'all about hip hop, to celebrate.
We're going to go off of the questions that we wrote for each other. The first one is pretty self explanatory. What is rap to you, bro?
Hip hop to me is a form of expression that is used to communicate messages or vibes or certain mind states that a lot of people like you and I, things that we go through culturally, it's a way to pass those messages and just to pass certain things on, especially when it first started. I think that's was a big purpose because we didn't have a lot of ways to communicate with each other, especially across state lines and stuff. It helped create a subculture to connect a certain group of people that like to engage in it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's grown so much because I think it's a young genre as far as like it connects with the youth. And as we're starting to see, it still has a connection with older people because now people are growing up with it. What is hip hop to you?
I think generally just perspective because trying to get into somebody else's shoes, about like, whatever they're doing, situation they're in, whatever they're feeling, vibe, whatever you want to call that, emulating and reimagining existing styles to making your own form of expression, just like any art. You're taking in stuff, you're putting it back out into the world as your own, as genuinely as you can. I think that's another big part of rap. It offers the listeners a unique point of view, like you're saying, with the Black experience predominantly. We share a lot of the similar experiences that are put into the song. So it's like, why wouldn't people be listening to them when they're older? Growing up listening to this stuff, I mean, it's still relatable in a way.
I think for me, what's made me continue to love music as I get older is that there's always something I can relate to, or there's always something that hits me in a way that's like, wow, I either feel the same way, or that was a cool like melody, or that was a cool rhythm. I've never heard something like that, or if I have, it's in their own way, as you said. And I think for me growing up, it was an easy place to hearing other people's experiences from Chicago, from all these places, from all these hoods, from all
Mm.
these spots, and they might be going through more extreme circumstances than I ever have been through, but I can relate to them or get game. It could paint a picture of something I haven't seen before. Some people say people like to live vicariously through rappers. I think if anything, it's more like a book to me sometimes. It helps me relate to things that I might not have related to as much before because hearing it from someone else's perspective can help you think of something in a different way, right? And a lot of times, a lot of my impactful albums help me see a different perspective or help me add more to a perspective I had. You know what I'm saying?
Gaining perspective and stuff is so important because it contextualizes a lot of things within the Black experience that you might not be able to see from your vantage point because you only live a certain fraction of it.
Yeah.
You're in a certain state, certain hood, right? You have certain institutions in place and stuff that you can see. And there's people in, like you said, Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, all these people, different communities, different, stuff that they're dealing with every day, but it is similar in the way that it always seems to affect the same marginalized group. There's nothing more relatable.
Yeah. And to hear someone that talks like me sometimes, or to hear someone that looks like me make music that's getting bigger than the culture pretty much. Like at this point, hip hop is not the small genre that it once was, obviously. It's
Mm-hmm.
topping charts. We got artists that are as big as certain pop artists now. Some of us, you can damn near say, we are damn near pop artists sometimes with the way we're racking numbers up with sales now. That has come from the struggle, that has come from a lot of adaptation, just like in real life, niggas know how to adjust. We know how to move on no matter what. So people have tried to keep hip hop down. People have tried to say it's just a joke of a genre, but really, we create a lot of what sets the trend as far as music goes. People always say, we created rock music, we created jazz music. We damn near had a big thing in country for a period before, certain people took it over, right? You start to see that. And I think it's dope that we finally found a genre that we get our props for, even though people still hate on us, right? That's why hip hop is important to me. Because even growing up, people would say, why are you listening to this? Why are you supporting this? You should be listening to this. And it's like, no, I'm gonna stick with what I know. I'm gonna stick with what I like because that's my culture. Not all of it's bad, you know what I'm saying? Not all of it's good.
You're gonna get people who have their opinions on black culture. It's just wrong, bro. Just like some of the stuff that is portrayed in the music is obviously, not like morally that great, bro. But hey, man, when people are put into certain situations and stuff, it's like you do what you got to do to survive it. And a lot of people who don't live in the same type of skin will never understand that you have to do some stuff that you got to do to survive. Or people that don't live in poverty that don't understand. There's a certain subset of people that just will never understand why you and I will listen to that type of music or why we relate to it because they don't relate to it, or they don't have a deeper connection to music because they don't listen to rap music. And rap music, like we were saying, has a very unique aspect where it's so rooted in a shared experience. I feel like a lot of other genres are missing that, or it's just not one that I can relate to.
I always knew that that was my thing, especially growing up. It's not meant for everybody to be into because they didn't grow up with it. I think a lot of people like they grew up listening to stuff and then they tapped into the culture. While people like you and I mean, it's always been a part of my life. It's always been probably a part of your life, especially my parents. They were slapping all the classics, Snoop Dogg. Oh, I know every Snoop Dogg album probably. Growing up listening to Ye, Tupac, Notorious B.I.G. I got all codes too. It's like one of those things where it's like I grew up in this genre, so as I continue to listen to it, my mind is always open. It's like anything. I feel like if you grow up around people who are against something, especially as a child, you're gonna be like, and I probably should listen because they obviously know something I don't. And I think a lot of people grew up hearing that rap is not good, you know? And there was a big
Yeah,
culture shift out of nowhere that made it good for everybody, obviously.
that access to the internet, man. Everybody getting to share who they are, on the
Mm-hmm.
internet, and not having that buffer of it coming from the TV or it coming from your parents or some censored version of people. You get to see a little bit more raw version of other people. Yeah, I think that helped extremely well with rap music becoming as popular as it was and
Yeah.
allowing for all these people to be, fickle and culture vultures and skimming their way to the top.
Because the internet desensitized people in general. And I think allowing, as a subculture, you allow that subculture to have a limited access to everybody. Because before you had to go through the radio, you had to go through the labels. And the labels weren't ever fully pushing us. We created our own platform. Obviously, there was rappers that were big, but I think rappers like, of course, Soldier Boy, Little B, people make fun of them because they're not the best rappers. They didn't stand for everything the old school rappers stood for, but they did
Hmm.
pave the way as far as making an internet platform and continuing to have that platform and growing from it. Me being so into it, I went out my way to download music on LimeWire, make sure everything was sorted, make sure I'm, downloading everything that's the correct version and the best quality. That's also one of the moments I realized like this is deeper than I think a lot of other people. Because a lot of people they were just downloading stuff or they were just casually checking things out. And for me, it was like, damn.
We've always been at the kind of the forefront of trying to monetize ourselves and trying to make money because we had no other option. Like you said, labels don't support. How are we gonna make money regardless? You see people at the forefront now, like Russell. He's got the blueprint to how to make money off the merch and how to get people to your shows by paying whatever price they want. And Nipsey Hussle getting people to buy his albums for what some people would believe a lucrative price, but to him and his fans, they're paying the price for his music, and maybe like Makami, selling his
Vinyls or something for
albums.
$1,000. Yeah. And people
Yeah,
buying them.
yeah.
Hip hop has always been a battle against the power. Fight the power. You know what I'm saying? Like Public Enemy and all that shit. Like fight the power. And I think that's why it will always be a battle with us and the labels. Even now, as we're one of the top genres in the game, we're battling over getting our money's worth with streaming and everything. They're not paying the artists what they deserve. They're not giving them their streaming money like they should be, obviously. And I think that we always have to find ways to jump ahead and make money, even though people ain't trying to pay us what we're worth, right? And
Yep.
I think internet opened the game, but it also, just like the music world in general, it changed it in some negative ways too. And I think that's why we have a big wave of people who don't really know the culture but act like they do, because it's easy to go online and act like you know stuff You know what I'm saying? Or it's easy to go
Yeah.
and express your opinion at any time, which is fine.
Mhm.
I love hearing different opinions, but sometimes you could tell that people are more so outsiders. They're on the bandwagon, the hip hop bandwagon. You feel me?
For the most part, those people don't bother me, except for when you get like a big follower count. You talking about rap, and your name is Rap TV, or your name is Hip Hop News or whatever. Literally posting like the most degenerate type news, or it's like Blueface and Christian Rock every day. It's not even rap music. It's literally just like black people doing stuff that is for like clout and like virality, something that's like degenerate behavior. They post it. It's like everybody knows that you don't belong here, bro. And they dox these people and they figure out what they look like. And like that Rap TV dude, we do not want you here, bro. It's so uncomfortable, man. We dealing with FBI agents and CIA agents, man.
Plants. Yeah.
They putting on digital blackface, right? Putting on a Young Thug profile pic or fucking Future or something, right? Because that's their favorite rapper. So I can put it. Y'all know damn well what you doing when you put on a black person's profile picture.
I agree with you sometimes. Now, not every time, I understand that it's all a form of expression. Some people are just picking a profile picture trying to represent that they like someone or they like some things. It's a difference when it almost feels like you're playing a role or you're trying to push a certain narrative while using that picture. Like you're being a troll or you're not really spreading positive things within the community and you're using a black picture. I don't like that. I agree with you on that more so.
We're the hip hop babies, and then there's Rap TV. We actually talk about shit.
Well, hip hop journalism has changed. I think it used to be more about the music and then getting into the internet. It's more about clout and what's getting clicked. And it's clickbait titles, it's clickbait stuff, it's clickbait music now. We got TikTok songs and things that are meant to just catch your attention that quick and then it goes the next day. They're joining the bandwagon and just trying to get lucky and blow up or get lucky and profit off the culture. It's always going to be like that. I think people are always going to try to make money off the back of us. It's just a matter of are we getting the representation that we deserve and we're getting our just due. And I think with hip hop, I think it's in a good spot with that.
Part of it is the people that are in the space currently, we know what we're doing and we're committed to it, right? Building a profitable business model is the goal of every person that's in this space. That's what it should be. I feel like there's not enough respect amongst our space. There's more rappers nowadays that I know that I can count on my hands that started at like 30, and started releasing music that, started popping off and they're hot right now, People are taking their time and dropping high quality stuff that nobody can really compete with. Stuff like that, and making sure that we're not chasing like moments.
I think rap coming up in the short attention span era is why, even though it's only 50, people are already starting to say it's dying. How is that? When one, like I said, the genre is only 50 years old. Two, it's still doing big numbers with certain artists and new artists pop up all the day with a bunch of potential. We're one of the only genres that lose artists in the most horrific way possible that are the most promising in the game, like X, Juice World. I mean, I could keep naming them, and we still find a way to come up with other artists that can compete and maybe take the torch. So many promising new artists and new subgenres and stuff all the time. If you're really looking, you just got to take the time to look. But growing up, my first introduction to streaming was Zune. I don't know if you know what the Zune is. My mom actually bought the Zune. We were investors in that and it died, obviously. Zune fell the fuck off. But one thing that I will always remember about Zune is that it helped me get used to just being able to stream anything for a flat fee and helped me get into a bunch of artists that I still like today or help influence my music, like the way I started to listen to music at a certain age. It was part of the reason that helped me find like Tech Nine and shit like that. I think certain people just never had a real moment. Like, I think that's why TikTok is such a big deal because they're already so used to an algorithm putting music in their face all the time with streaming like Spotify. So TikTok was the next thing that was like, okay, we could do this too, because that's what TikTok kind of is now. It's an algorithm that puts certain things in your face, especially when it comes to hip hop that people like or that's going to get a lot of attention, right? But there's artists that always find a way to somehow get in the algorithm even though they're not supposed to. And I love seeing it even now. To find those hidden gems is always a rewarding moment. It always makes me happy. It always fills me up with joy because it's like, man, this is a genuine artist who I think is signed or they're coming up and it's like, wow, they're doing all this different stuff, but people are still finding out their music even though everything's against them. Everything was against us and people still found these artists that we say are the best of all time, like Tupac and Biggie, because their music was so undeniable, and it's still like that today.
Yeah, I didn't really have streaming until high school. Actually, we listened to music in like my mom's car when I was really young. Talking about those guys, that's like all the Bay Area legends, the LA legends, some Kanye, a lot of Atlanta legends as well. Then I would listen to Pandora. Pandora was how I found a lot of my music.
Yes.
It's not too different than Spotify radios nowadays, where they kind of pair similar artists and put them in a shuffle. And you don't always get to hear all the songs you want, but you do get to discover some songs. I was discovering songs on Pandora for a while. My boy Tim Tanner at De La Salle let me hop on a Spotify account for free. The boy was exploring on Spotify. I was going crazy. That was around the time I met you. So we was talking about a bunch of music, and I was looking up a bunch of stuff, and I was able to, go on to all these different artists, and it was blowing my mind, man. The fact that, I could listen to literally whatever I wanted to click my fingers. It felt like we were almost there for a while when I was in middle school. We weren't quite there yet. You was probably with your Zune and shit.
Zune died. It lasted only a little bit. Definitely before like 8th grade because it died. It didn't last that long. Microsoft was trying to get into the market, but Apple took over because Apple was everywhere already at that point. Basically, what they did was Zune died, and they probably was like, whoa, Zune had something though. Apple Music came after Spotify, but you get what I'm saying, right? Zune was, I think, a pioneer in that. I mean, there was probably definitely something before that, but Zune definitely was ahead of his time. And it's dope to see that everyone's on that wave now with streaming, because even then I knew it was the future, because without streaming, I wouldn't have found certain artists. I mean, downloading music on LimeWire, I found certain artists all the time. Sometimes, unfortunately, I didn't want to, but you download a song, put a fake song title and everything, and then you find a new artist that way sometimes because they trick you.
The whole monetization of it really has to be reconfigured entirely. The
Yeah,
fact that these people are not getting paid the way they should.
Bandcamp is definitely, the artists get more money off that. That only goes so far.
Why is there not an option for us to give the money directly to the artists?
Because if they had that, the artists wouldn't be scrounging to make music for the label. And I think that's part of the reason we have the issue where they're not making the money they're supposed to. I think rap had a little period where people were buying CDs, even though it wasn't the top genre. And then after a certain period, CDs started to die, and then we had to adjust to streaming. Now with streaming, everyone's trying to get a hit because you're not making that money off the hit like you're supposed to. You're not making money off that CD like you're supposed to. So you have to find new ways to catch people's ear to keep that revenue going, unless you have hella business deals like certain rappers. And not everyone can do that because you're not marketable in that way. When you think about it like that, now you start to probably see why we have artists out here doing crazy shit for clout. There's no other way to continue to get the revenue you're supposed to. What I have to say about that is it's crazy because even comparing it to other genres, they make more money than us because of their deal. They be giving us the most crappy deals in the world. They're from probably a poor area. They don't have as much leverage. They don't understand how it is to be in these rooms with these people with a bunch of money, and they're making you sign a paper, and they're giving you money up front that looks good, and they're basically finessing you for your whole life, for your whole career. That's been going on since 80s and 90s, whatever. Rappers have been making songs about that for years, but it's hard, especially when you're competing against the next guy every week who's dropping something that's trending.
That's also why I was saying building the successful business model is the next step of the game. And maybe whether it's merch, whether it's, you're going on tour, Patreon, you got to find ways to stay monetized. I mean, they don't make it easy, man. It really should be more accessible for the consumer. I don't think people really understand how niche the internet still is. There's so many people that I know in like communities that do not know how to use the internet whatsoever. And then you're going to tell them they have to get on a specific platform, and they have to put their credit card info in, put it on the main websites where people go, like Spotify, YouTube. YouTube already has monetization and stuff for like creators and stuff, but like recording artists, how do you not have that already? It's like,
that's why some of these rappers still get caught with drug shit and all this shit, because even though you're thinking, man, they're selling all these records, they're getting paid pennies on the dollar off millions of streams. We had a moment where we thought that Piff was going to die. I remember people were tweeting about it, all those mixtapes, all those times where people were dropping music for the love of the game on DatPiff. Brought back a crazy memory for a second of all the gems that were dropping on DatPiff, just because people were dropping stuff trying to make it out. Just people were trying to drop stuff to catch your ear. SoundCloud too, that little SoundCloud period we had, you know what I'm saying? Streaming caught on and took that out almost, because at a certain point we start putting our mixtapes on streaming services instead of on DatPiff. Every time we start building our own communities or a way to directly get the artists to communicate with the people, the industry tries to catch on and get rid of it. Because I'm not saying they were making hella money on SoundCloud, but that was a way to connect and instantly drop a song whenever you wanted to without the label's consent, right? I think that's where we need to get back to. That's why, so everyone, you talk about La Russell and everything, they push being independent if you can, because if you could do it, hey, That's the hustle right there. E40 Too Short. They always tell people like how they was dropping mixtapes at the back of their car to make money until they were able to work with Geffen or wherever. It's hard to do that nowadays. It's hard to genuinely connect with people like that because everything's in your face.
It's not impossible, and it's not impractical. It's just extra.
That's going to be the future. That's going to be
That
what
has to be,
creates the new love, I think, for people. I think a lot of people are afraid to take risks and do certain things because it's all about hitting these certain boxes to make good music nowadays.
It's convoluted. The results don't show right away when you do it the right way. Regardless, this is like all game that we've just all collectively gathered. I think that's really cool, man. I think that it just goes to show that hip hop is it's not dying. It's not going anywhere.
No, it's not.
The only argument that I've ever heard that I thought maybe was valid was when somebody said that we're gonna run out of sounds, bro. One day all the melodies are gonna be dried up. Then I heard Yeet, bro, and I knew we were okay, bro. Thug's successor, bro, showed me that some swerving that Tonka, bro, you gonna make it right, bro.
I think hip hop is one of the best genres for accepting other sounds and accepting, surprisingly, sometimes other people in the culture. And that's one of the reasons why it's thriving. Sometimes we probably shouldn't, but we let others tap into the culture. We let others play with the sound for a little bit and then move on. Sometimes forcefully, right? I think sometimes it's just a matter of business. We'll get you on a song. We'll do songs with country artists. We'll do songs with pop artists. We'll mix rock and rap. And sometimes the rock artists will mess with us too. You know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the reasons why we've made progressions too, because even though others are mean to us and push us away, we are pretty like, you can come fuck with us for a little bit. Even though your fans might not fuck with us, we fuck with you. Come over here and we'll do a song together. Like, business is business. There's probably certain sounds I don't even know about that I know, even though I don't know about them, I know are coming because I didn't think I'd hear someone like Billy Woods growing up. I didn't think I'd hear someone like Danny Brown growing up. Every time I think people say, well, this is what was the best, or this is what is going to stay the sound forever, there's a new sound or there's a new artist that comes up and it's like, what the hell is this?
One of the things that I struggled with when I was growing up was like ranking. I was ranking rappers. I was like, this guy's top. This guy's number 2. He's number 3. It's not really about who's the best. It's about the feeling that you get when you listen to the music, man. The connection you get when you listen to that artist, like what are they saying to you? What's speaking to you?
That's why I've always had this issue with people using these sales metrics to say this artist is better than the other, especially in hip hop. That's never been the culture. Hip hop did not start because it was about the sales. I know you probably say that maybe about any genre, but I think specifically for hip hop, because it was a black genre, that was not the point. I don't know if it was ever supposed to be like this. And the fact that it is like this is a plus. It's not the indicator of talent or what's good or not, because the masses, especially with our culture, don't indicate that. They don't fully connect with it, or they're acting like they do, and it's just a song that's like fun or whatever to them in the moment. With that and how big it is now, it's weird sometimes. I think a lot of hip hop media, it's not even about the music anymore. It's about the drama, the sales, and everything. And people aren't even listening to the albums no more. That's why we have these industry plants and these people who you never heard of, and somehow they're getting streams. It's like, how is that? Is it machines? Is it real people? Sometimes I know it's not real people. It's like, there's no way you're actually listening to this person.
2020, right? And there's like the big like awakening of underground, right? For a lot of people, they were stuck inside. Their favorite rappers weren't dropping anymore. And they were like, oh, what am I gonna listen to? And Griselda became pretty prominent during that time. Griselda don't got no platinum records, bro. John P. Caddy, first platinum record. My bad. I thought Griselda was one of the top rap groups in the game. Is that right or no?
And we know why, because everybody in the game fucks with him. Yay.
Yeah.
Even Drake, all of them, they all mess with him. You know why? Because that's hip hop. That's a big part of what hip hop is about. It's about people just making music and it pops off. If it pops off, it pops off. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's always a new sample to be flipped. There's always a new beat to be made. There's always a new flow that can take over at any minute, even if it doesn't hit the mainstream. The culture messes with it. The culture has always had these hits. There's certain songs that we grew up hearing every day, probably, that were hits to us, but to the masses, they were not like hits like that. That's a hip hop hit. It's crazy. Sometimes I talk to people, I'm like, how do you not know this song? Because I'm thinking, hip hop nowadays is so popular, everyone knows the songs. But when I play an old school song, an old school Jay-Z song, an old school certain song, of course, some people know it, but then some people are like, no, I wasn't listening to hip hop then. And it's like, everybody I talk to, if I sing the rhythm or play the start of the song, They're like, oh, that's that song. You know what I mean?
A lot of this music is going to come back up eventually. We got TikTok now. Sounds are always going to be there. The songs keep getting revitalized every day with certain artists. Songs that they just don't give a fuck about get put into groups that they may not even relate to for certain reasons because it sounds like a meme. It's interesting to see how people are now getting music. We on this channel, we listen to albums. Okay, I don't listen to your playlist. I listen to an album straight. Nowadays, it's like, oh, I get my music off of like a playlist, and it's like one song from one album, one song from another. And I'm just like, you've gone completely hands off the fucking wheel, and you're not controlling nothing anymore, bro. Like you are in the system. You are listening to the corporate playlist. Please wake the fuck up. A lot of the stuff, even some of the rap music today, man, is so squeaky clean or formulaic. A lot of the stuff that was considered vulgar or over the top back in the days is considered commonplace. WAP was a fucking mega hit a few years ago, bro. Like that blows my mind that a song about a bucket and a mop for that WAP is going mega viral, bro. Please do yourself a favor and listen to some music that actually has some meaning. Talk to people about music, man. Like, definitely don't live in your own online bubble. Listening to music, go out and talk to somebody about music. Talk to them about the music that they used to listen to growing up, man. There's so many rap heads that'll talk your ear off about the stuff that they used to listen to growing up, man.
Me included.
We just love sharing why we love hip hop, man. That's why we did this video. And there's so many people that will educate you on the reasons why you too should love hip hop or why you too could use this genre for gaining perspective or critical analysis of your environment around you or environment around other people in your community. You know, it's just a way to connect. It's a way to connect to people and a way to connect to aspects of yourself and spirituality. Very spiritual genre. I think that's why you can see through a lot of the bullshit. When it's not real, it's not real, bro.
Bro, there's some albums I feel like without those albums, I don't know if I wouldn't be the same person I am because some of those albums were a big part of the experiences I went through. Obviously, it's not like that for everybody. There's albums from other genres that are like that, but for me, rap albums are the ones that impacted me the most. For a genre that people say is negative, hip hop has taught me to be accepting of all different mind states and perspectives. I think without it, I'd be judgmental about some things. You know what I'm saying? Be more empathetic about certain things, I think, sometimes. So, and I think it's sometimes about what you're letting in your spirit, as you say, sometimes about what you're letting in and you're hearing all the time. I think that's why people have an issue and say rap is dying is because they're letting the algorithm factory made songs in their ear all the time and it's coming off like not as unique anymore. And that is furthest thing from the truth because there's so many unique things going on in the hip hop game. And it's a shame that a lot of people will never experience it or have gave up because they're in too deep as far as like they're gone.
It's a lot of stuff that can't be figured out by an algorithm, man. I mean, as far as much as you want to believe that the similar artist page on the bottom of your Apple Music screen is going to lead you to the next artist that you like, what it comes from is connecting to the music, what people are saying, and the people in your community and what they're listening to, what the people in their music is saying. You know, I wouldn't care about half of these albums if you didn't like them. You know, you didn't care about them. You weren't talking to me about them, and you're like, damn, bro, this album got me excited. Like you said, it's a book. As best as you can gain the perspective of other people to help you move correct in situation you need to move in.
Like Jay-Z, show you how to move in a room full of roaches. Put yourself in the best position, even though it's not going to be the best position sometimes. And I think hip hop has been the best at that.
You're not going to get that from your cookie cutter Walmart music. What are people really like speaking on are things you definitely have to take into account. I know that some artists that when you listen to them, the lyrics don't really account for nothing, but sometimes whether you like it or not, everybody's opinion is equal, man. It's not a fact. Everybody's opinion, everybody's style is equal. That's how I go into it when I listen to a new album. Somebody new has got the mic and is sharing their perspective. It's my time to listen. There's a general respect, and it's infuriating when it's not there. I sound like an old man sometimes. I know. Get your act together.
TDE is a big example of that to me. Like growing up, they were all together, all solidified, and now they're all going their different ways. Kendrick is one of the biggest artists in the game, and he's making some of the more abstract music in the genre, right? And I think that, you know, people see that genre. I mean, people see that label fall off, and they're like, man, that's the death of this type of music or the death of this period. And to me, no, it means that there's going to be probably a new group that is challenging things, the way they're coming up, being together, and putting out a dope music as a collective. For example, with Zelda, they give me that vibe. Odd Future, TDE, a group, even though they're older, these groups are coming up their own way and putting out dope music and still getting support. Will it be loved by the masses as it is now? I don't know. But I know for me, I'm always going to be looking.
Or the reason rap is so global is because communities won't be satisfied until somebody that looks like them, acts like them, is on that stage doing their dance, their lyrics, talking about their life.
Okay, I got a question. I know we've been talking about 50 years, the death of hip hop. I wanted to ask you, are there any albums or artists that you think would be a good way to show what started the foundation for your love of hip hop?
I got a couple I could think of top of my head. I got poster one in here somewhere. Graduation from Kanye West.
Mhm.
One of the easiest ones to get into. That's a really good commercial album. It's a good basis for what I think should be expressed in a project. The introspectiveness on the project, as well as making songs for the masses. You can have songs that everybody knows. That's important. That is why people do chase cloud and chase viralities, because they want everybody to know their song. I know. But back in the day, it used to mean something. It
was
used to
more
mean
genuine.
something when you had a VH1, music video, hits and stuff. Kanye had a really good balance. I feel like back in the day, especially the mid 2000s, he was pretty much one of the kings of the genre at that time. Everybody always refers to Kanye and says, I miss the old Kanye. There's a reason. So go ahead, listen to Graduation for me. Another one I would recommend, the Carter 3, Lil Wayne, classic album. Wordplay on there, exceptional. Beats may be a little bit dated on there, but I think that there's enough lyrical prowess on there for you to look past that, to see what was coming out of the South during the time, something that's a little bit different than Outkast, Jeezy, or Gucci Mane. And he took himself somewhere different than nobody has ever been.
He's a Martian.
Yeah, he's a Martian, bro. He was under Birdman, still making great music today, still out rapping damn near everybody. I got one more before I let you go. Deified by Keep the Sneak. Third project I'll put on there. Super Hyphy, bro, is the most insane song you'll ever hear. Bay Area slang peaked when that song came out, bro. I don't care what nobody says. That was legendary shit. I put that on there just because shout out to Bay, man. We always been doing something different. Nobody else could do what Keep the Sneak did on that project, man. That's why that shit is so legendary and why I love it so much.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I was not expecting that from you. I was not expecting that. I love it though. Bay Area legend, of course. I might have more than three. I'm just damn near gonna just start spitting some. For me, you said Graduation. For me, it was College Dropout. Listening to that in the back of the car all the time, and especially when I got older and I got to download it and listen to it to myself. Love that album. Love it today, even though Ye's crazy. He says foul stuff. The documentary about the game, parents love that album. West Coast, brought gangster rap back popping from the West Coast, I think, with the help from 50 Cent and everything. That was a dope album. Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg. There was a few Snoop Dogg albums. Snoop Dogg is definitely a recommendation. Illmatic by Nas. Wolf by Tyler. I think Wolf is a great album. It definitely impacted me growing up because I think it showed his talent as far as the production. And even though he has some wacky shit on there still, where he's saying some out of pocket stuff, that was the moment his talent started to really shine. Me Against the World by Tupac, Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. Even today, I go back to those albums, even though they're old, because they mean something to me. They bring me back to a time. They bring me back to a moment, even though it's an old perspective. And you would think like, man, I wouldn't be able to relate to that at all. But sometimes, man, it hits. That's what I love from an album. That's what really gets me. An album that either I can relate to or it really. MF Doom, he raps about he needs one beer and he's the biggest villain, and he says these funny sarcastic bars, but at the end of the day it's all fun. It's super lyrical and stuff. At the end of the day it's all good laugh. You get enjoyment out of it because it's like he's just rapping about normal shit. That's what I look for when I'm looking for an essential or a classic album.
The way that he raps, man, is so unique where every line is, its own story. Not everybody could do something like that. Something that's very MF Doom because it's such a unique skill. So
don't sleep on Scarface. That would probably be my father used to really love Scarface, and I think Scarface is one of the more underrated rappers because he's a really good storyteller. Like I've never seen a man cry till I seen a man die, or the hand of a dead body, or like even his freaky songs where he's just telling a story about how he's walking down, he met a girl, and it's like, man, I'm trying to smash.
I gotta add a couple more. Probably put Chronic, Dr. Dre's
Oh yeah,
Chronic on there. I would put any of the Pack albums on there, Vans, in my car. Those are just insane boppers, bro. It was literally just some Bay dudes, Lil B and them making stupid, and everybody in my school knew it. If you tried to explain it to anybody else in any other state, they'd be like, nah, bro. But in the Bay, the pack was going triple platinum, bro.
I think it's dope right now too. Hip hop right now it's so open that we were able to have a group like Brockhampton. We were, Tyler came out and went through smoothly for the most part. And we have a bunch of new talented women rappers in the game that are competing, doing big numbers. When I think back in the day, it was more like one or two. Nowadays, it's so many. I love that about hip hop. I know some people are probably like, oh, I don't want to hear that shit. But for me, I think
Nah,
it's
they need
cool
to hear
that
that, bro.
yeah, I think it's cool because allowing that, opening the lane for more women rappers to rap about their perspective or rap about what they go through, allowing more LGBT rappers to come up and express themselves the way they are comfortable. I think that is opening hip hop to more ways to grow, more ways
Yeah,
to
man.
expand. I think there's gonna be more albums that keep stacking on. I'm like, I can relate to this more than even some of the classics because there's a new perspective every day that wasn't accepted back in the day for right or
Yeah.
wrong sometimes.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about hip hop is it shows that even if a space is cisgender, heterosexual, male dominated, there's been a shift in the way that we think, that we have tried to position ourselves, taking more of a back seat and letting more other perspectives come to the table, speak their minds, make it more equal as best as we can.
Without messing up what was there from the start, without
Yeah,
ruining the
like
foundation.
there's a lane for everybody with hip hop. I love to see new people coming into the space, and I love to see new people getting their turn at the microphone. As long as it's your own, I want to hear it. There's no room in this space for hate. It was birthed from love, it's from the spirit. I'm the youngest old head. With that being said, thank y'all so much for checking in on this episode. Make sure y'all like, y'all comment, y'all subscribe. Really do comment though. I really want to have some discussion in the comment section. If anything on here caught your interest that maybe didn't agree with, or you did agree with, let us know. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, join our Discord at the Hip Hop Babies on everything. I'm gonna let Ray tell y'all what's up.
50 years, man. Thanks to everybody who's made hip hop what it is today. Thank you to people who had to go through all the hate to let the next generation not have to go through that. That's why I always preach to go back and do your research. One, it's only 50 years. And two, it's worthwhile to see and hear why the genre is alive and well today, because these people basically their blood, sweat, and tears to be able to make the music that they could at the time, and now it's thriving because of that. And thank you for listening. If there's any album, even if it's old, if there's a classic album, if there's a new album you want us to talk about, comment it. With that being said, peace.